David Wenham, thank you very much for joining Cinema Australia and welcome to Perth.
Thank you, good to be here.
I saw Spit recently, absolutely loved it. A genuinely hilarious film. I laughed a lot during this one. It's kind of rare for Australian films to be able to be so funny nowadays, so this was a rare treat. But how did the idea for the Gettin Square sequel come about?
It started about 11 years ago. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about that fact. You talk about the fact that, hilarious film. Comedy is something that I love doing, but I don't get the opportunity to do it very often. So he was talking about the character of Johnny Spitieri, and it started to get me thinking. I was just riffing on a whole heap of scenarios you could put him in. And so then I rang the writer of Gettin Square, Chris Nice.
Yes.
And serendipitously, he had actually been working on a script with Jonathan Toplitsky, the director, a film surrounding Spitieri.
Yeah, and you were unaware of that?
Completely unaware of it at the time. So he sent me the script. I read it. The very first time I read that draft, about 10 or 11 years ago, it was like, it was inspired because none of us wanted to do Gettin Square 2. It had to have a particular reason to exist in its own right. And it's, it is a comedy, but it's sort of it's slightly different film to Gettin Square. Gettin Square was a crime comedy caper. This is... it is a character film focused on Johnny Spitieri. You get to see his backstory, so you get to understand why he is the guy he is, and you get to experience the world through the interesting prism of Johnny Spitieri.
Yeah, so would you say that Spit is someone who's stayed with you over the years? Is he someone that you've thought about, compared to your other characters?
I hadn't... He's somebody that I get asked about a lot.
Yeah.
At least every second day somebody would talk about Johnny Spitieri.
Really?
Or come up and ask about my bus fare.
Yes, yeah.
So it's in... I've been aware that it's been in sort of Australian popular culture over a period of time, but it's not as though I was consciously thinking about him.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when I got back to bringing Johnny back, it reminded me how much affection I actually did have for the character. He's a guy that I genuinely love. It's a character that I absolutely adore playing. I find him as a character so rich, and the fact I feel as though I know him so well that I could put him in any situation, and I'd feel as though I'd be able to, act and react spontaneously and organically as Spit.
Yeah, and you said that the script was already being written, but how much say did you have in the development of this character for this film?
Lots of ideas I threw in with Chris. Chris is a very clever man, and the whole idea of where the film was set and the reasons for the film, they're all Chris's, and he is brilliant, and the idea behind it was inspired. I gave him lots of ideas for character ideas and things. Very early on, I realised that ageing was something I really wanted to focus on. The fact that there was 22 years between his appearances on film, and I wanted the audience to see the ravages of the years on Johnny.
Yeah.
But I also wanted the audience to feel as though he has aged. So physically, he's slightly different. And the one thing that came to me very early on was glasses.
Yes.
I thought I want to play with glasses. It's because as you get older, but it's those sorts of things that came to me, and I throw into the mix.
Yeah, fantastic. There's some really good dramatic moments in this film, as well as the funny moments, especially between Spit and his sister and Arlo Green's character. Arlo Green is so great in this role. How much fun is it for you as an actor to switch between those comedy elements and the dramatic elements?
Oh, it's amazing to be able to play the extremes in one movie. Yeah. To go to the edges of the comedy and then go to the edges of pathos as well in the same movie. For me, it is just so creatively rewarding. And then to sit in a cinema, or be at the back of the cinema, watching the audience's reaction, as I have been for the last month. I've been on tour doing these question and answer screenings. To feel this huge roller coaster ride that the audience goes on, and incredible peals of laughter, and then immediately cut, and the crowd is pin drop silent, with maybe a sniffle or two, is pretty incredible. It's it's a very fulfilling experience. The fact that you have, you've given an audience a pretty fantastic experience, and at the end of it, they come out feeling pretty buoyant, and it's a celebration. It's a celebration of all the best things of humanity, but also the best things of being Australian.
Yes. You mentioned aging there. It's a very physical role. Was there more to this role physically than it seems? How was it? I mean, you're running around in a pair of thongs in skin-tight jeans. How was that?
It was very physical. Thankfully, I was sort of fit when I was doing it. But Jonathan Spititeri, the director, loves a lot of takes.
Yes.
So, each time I run down the street for like a minute, that's like multiply that by about 50, and that's what happens on each shot. So, yeah, it was hard work. And our days are long, they're at least 14 hours every day. And as you say, a lot of it is really, really physical.
Yeah.
But it's just such a joy. It's like, I can honestly say, I don't think I've been so fulfilled and so energized on a film set as I was on this, and everybody felt the same. The cast and the new cast and the returning cast absolutely adored the process. And also the amazing thing is not only did some of the original cast come back, and I can't think of any other film like this, certainly in Australian cinema history, we have the same writer, the same director, the same cinematographer, the same head of design, the same head of makeup and hair, and it's incredible that these key creatives, after 22, 23 years, all decided, I don't care what else is on, we want to work on this film.
Yes, I've seen some of the behind the scenes footage as well. It looks excellent. While I was preparing for this interview, one of your films kept coming back to me, and it's interesting, since you've made this film, whenever I think of you, I think of this movie, and that's
okay.
Ellipsis.
Oh, wow.
And I think about it quite a bit. You and I did speak at the time that you made that film. How do you reflect on Ellipsis now?
Look, it was a great experience. As you know, it was an experimental film on my behalf to literally play with how films are made and to be able to come up with I don't know if the word is an approach to filmmaking where you can just get rid of a lot of the fat and the barnacles that are on the actual filmmaking machine. Funny you should talk about it, actually, because I'm thinking about what I'll be doing next over the next 5 or 10 years. And I actually want to use that model to make films myself, to direct films myself, not to the extreme of experimentation that I did with Ellipsis, but to use that model on scripted material, but to be able to really turn it around really, really quickly and financially at a much lower budget than you would be waiting for otherwise. So it's been I look back on it. It's been an important film in how I want to move forward.
Well, that's very exciting for me to hear, because you also directed The Turning, which had a lot, many West Australian ties as well. So very exciting to hear that you're interested in directing again. One final question here: if I was to ask Spit right now, how many items have you stolen since you walked into this cinema? What do you think Spit would say?
Well, he'd say none, of course.
That's terrific.
Whether he's telling the truth or not's another thing.
Yes. David Wenham, it's been a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you.